Labrīt, dāmas un
Good morning, ladies and gentlemen, dear friends, excellencies, also those who are watching us online and those who are in person on Thursday, 29th of September. The climate's outside rainy and changeable. We will talk about it a lot today. And before we start a very dense agenda of today, which is also very strategic, a couple of technical ideas. Online, you are able to watch this conference on Facebook, YouTube, and also Mito Events site. The keyword is Conference Klimatam. And on these three platforms, you can watch what is happening here in Grand Poet Epic Hotel Room. And turning to the most important things today, we have this project which started 2 years ago about climate policy integration into sectoral and regional policy, and this is midterm conference. And I would like to remind that 2 years ago in autumn, within the Norway grants, we initiated and started implementing of this project, the climate changes policy integration into sectoral and regional policy. And this project is implemented by the Ministry of Regional Development and Environment. And it is also done in cooperation with the Statistic Board and also Environmental Geology and Meteorology Center and also Norway. And our goal is to implement this policy at the national level and not to forget also about international aspects. On the 9th of April, we had the opening conference, and now we are in the interim, the midterm conference. And if you remember a story about some birds who try to fly to warmer places and then they try to return back to find out how far they are. And we will also try to understand how far we are. My name is Gustav Sterzen. I will be moderator for today, and we will have 3 hours ahead of us, very dense and very busy hours. We will also have interactive activities and some interaction. And also I have CO2 measure, very ecological, and we have a very good quality of air right now, but of course till 1 o'clock it's not going to be so good anymore. But what is very important is breathe in and breathe out, and that makes your brain work better. And also, please remember about platform Slido. So each question that you want to ask the speakers, you can post them there. And also point out to which speaker you would like to ask this question so that we can define this question precisely and ask to specific speaker. Because speakers will speak very shortly and just 10-15 minutes. And of course, this time is enough to also ask some questions. And this is about technical things. And now the first opening speeches. And first I would like to give floor to Mr. Artur Stomspleš, the Minister.
Dāmas un kungi, kolēģi, draugi, nav šaubu, ka klimata pārmaiņas ir viens no lielākajiem cilvēces izaicinājumiem šajā gadsimtā. Vidējā gaisa temperatūra pieaug, un aizvien biežāk mēs novērojam tādus laikapstākļu ekstrēmus kā karstuma viļņus, spēcīgas lietavas, nepieredzētu sausumu, meža ugunsgrēkus un arī jūras ūdens līmeņa celšanos. Eiropā, piemēram, šī vasara bija sausāko pēdējo 500 gadu laikā. Latvijā šī gada augustā tika pārspēti 125 maksimālās gaisa temperatūras rekordi, un šis bija karstākais augusts kopš 1939. gada. Tāpat kā Eiropā, arī Latvijā šī gada vasara bija siltākā novērojuma vēsturē. Turklāt tas bija 9. gads pēc kārtas, kas ir siltāks par normu. Pētījumi liecina, ka globālās siltumnīca efekta gāzu emisijas pieaug un ir vēsturiski visaugstākajā līmenī. Turklāt 2100. gadā vidējā gaisa temperatūra Latvijā paaugstināsies par 5 grādiem, kas novedīs pie arvien siltākām ziemām un dramatiski karstām vasarām. Klimata pārmaiņas ietekmēs un jau ietekmē teju visus tautsaimniecības sektorus un iedzīvotāju dzīves kvalitāti. Tādēļ izlēmīgai rīcībai ir jānotiek jau tagad. Lai mazinātu klimata pārmaiņas un to radītās sekas, Pasaules valstis ir vienojušās samazināt siltumnīca efekta gāzu emisijas, lai ierobežotu planētas sasilšanu līdz 1,5 grādiem pēc Celsija. Un tomēr pastāv 50% varbūtība, ka vidējā gaisa temperatūra tik un tā paaugstināsies par 1,5 grādu. Turklāt jau tuvāko 5 gadu laikā. Tādēļ globālā klimata rīcība ir neatliekama un būtiski jāstiprina, lai izvairītos no katastrofālām sekām. Latvija atbalsta Eiropas Savienības zaļo kursu un ir noteikusi ambiciozu kopīgo mērķi. Līdz 2050. gadam panākt klimata neutralitāti un vienojusies arī par kopējo siltumnīca efekta gāzu emisiju samazināšanas mērķi vismaz 55% līdz 2030. gadam. Protams, jāatzīmē, ka virzība uz Eiropas Savienības mērķi ietver kā virkni iespēju, tā arī izaicinājumu. Zaļais kurs ir iespēja transformēt ekonomiku, radīt jaunas, zaļas darba vietas un uzlabot Latvijas konkurētspēju gan Eiropas Savienības, gan pasaules līmenī. Ilgspējīgs attīstības modelis nodrošinās Latvijas iedzīvotājiem labklājīgu un veselīgu vidi. Turklāt tas ir veids, kā mūs vairāk pasargāt no ārējiem pārsteigumiem un virzīties uz enerģētisko drošību. Līdz ar Krievijas asiņaino iebrukumu Ukrainā pasaules un Eiropas uzmanība pamatot ir pievērsta agresoru nežēlībai un apdraudējumam, kas skar eiropiešus visā kontinentā. Zaļais kurs ir ieguvis krietni plašāku ģeopolitisko dimensiju un virzību uz klimata neutralitāti iet roku rokā ar mūsu drošības veicināšanu. Kara izraisītā enerģētikas krīze ir iespēja daudz straujāk pāriet uz atjaunojumiem energoresursiem, samazināt siltumnīca efekta gāzu emisiju apjomu un kopumā nodrošināt ilgspējīgāku attīstību un enerģētisko neatkarību. Tas ir darbs, pie kā ar vien aktīvāk ir jāstrādā. Savukārt pielāgošanās klimata pārmaiņām un noturība pret tām ir būtiski politikas aspekti, kas mazina ievainojamību pret klimata pārmaiņu ietekmēm un ar to saistītajām sociālo-ekonomiskajām sekām. Jo ekstremāli laikapstākļi nesaudzē ne dabu, ne iedzīvotājus, ne ražas laukus. Pateicoties sniegtajam Norvēģijas finanšu instrumentu atbalstam, Latvijai ir lieliska iespēja uzlabot un ieviest jaunus klimata pārmaiņu politikas plānošanas rīkus nacionālā līmenī, kā arī palielināt klimata pārmaiņu politikas integrāciju nozaru un reģionālajā politikā. To arī visiem mums novēlu – domāt ilgspējīgi, rīkoties gudri un strādāt atbildīgi. Lai mums visiem izdodas!
Responsible way. Let us succeed in that. Thank you. It was a speech by the Minister for Environmental Protection and Regional Policy, Artur Stomps-Plešs, and the next speaker will speak in English. Please have translation devices if needed, because the next speaker is Her Excellency, the ambassador of the Norway in Latvia, Ine Boring, and the speech is going to be in English, so don't miss.
On Ine Boring, please.
Thank you. Thank you for inviting me here today. Minister, ladies and gentlemen, dear friends, I am very glad and honored to address you all at this midterm conference of the Norwegian Grand Project, Integration of Climate Change Policy in Sectoral and Regional Policies. Congratulations. It's an important milestone and I'm really happy to be here. On a personal note, this really is a personal note, I am a resource geographer in ground, and I used to work and write on environmental impact assessment. And I actually started my civil servant career in the Ministry of Environment in Norway. So I feel home here. This project is part of a larger climate and environment program by Latvia and Norway, co-financed by the Norwegian grants. There are 3 historical polluted sites that are being remediated here in Latvia, in Viski, Ventspils, and in Liepāja. And I actually visited the last one yesterday because we were on the diplomatic trip to Liepāja, and I asked for the bus to just drive around so we could see the sites. And there is still some work to be done. The soil maps of agricultural land of Latvia are being updated with the aim of enhanced sustainable use of soil. And I've already met with the project coordinator in that regard, and it's truly exciting to see all the work that's going on. And they promised me to take me to one of the site visits in the spring, not in the winter, but in the spring. So I'm really looking forward to that. Last but not least, the inventory of polluted sites in Latvia is being updated and digitalized. And this is truly groundbreaking work, and I'm happy to be here and contribute to it. This is a project of considerable ambition and scale. Climate change is not an abstract term. It is real, and so are its consequences, as the minister well explained and went into depth about. We cannot afford anything less than far-reaching action, and it requires wisdom and it requires courage. And you have that. And we need to keep up the work we just spoke about 10 years ago when we had conversation with colleagues in other line ministries. Energy, climate change was not on their agenda. Today it is. It's on the top of the agenda. And we have to do this even when there is a war raging on European soil. And yesterday's sabotage in the Baltic Sea does not make our task easier. Back to today, which is a happy day. Allow me to express my gratitude to all of you from Latvia and Norway who have made this midterm conference possible. And thank God we are seeing the back of COVID because we have our colleagues from Norway here today as well. And I would particularly like to thank the Ministry of Environmental Protection and Regional Development in Latvia, the Norwegian Environment Agency, the Latvian Environment Geology and Meteorology Center, and the Central Statistical Bureau of Latvia. To conclude, I wish you, everybody involved in this project, the very best of luck in this groundbreaking work you're doing, and all the best of luck with today, and all the best of luck with the election on Saturday. Thank you.
Thank you very much to Her Excellency, the Ambassador of Norway, Ine Moring, for welcoming speech, and thank you for wishing us this civic responsibility. And also, as a citizen of Latvia, if on the 1st of October you cannot be here in Latvia, you can vote already today and tomorrow. So I would like to remind you to do it, and I did it already on Monday, and I feel good. And one more welcoming speech will be said, given by Mr. Dagnis Dubrovskis, who is the Deputy State Secretary of the Ministry of Environmental Protection and Regional Development, and he's working with the climate policy. Good morning, ladies and gentlemen. Good morning, colleagues. Climate policy is related to a lot of various directions: agriculture, construction, industry, finances, services. It is closely related to economy of circulation. Climate policy is in the center of discussions in the EU and also in Latvia. The minister in his video speech especially mentioned and spoke about Green Deal of Europe. And our mission is to turn European Union into a modern, competitive economy, including everyone, including every region. Latvia supports the Green Deal of the European Union and also moving towards climate neutrality. Latvia has also approved a strategy about climate neutrality till 2050, and implementation of climate policy is linked not only to challenges but also to opportunities to transform our economy, to reduce our dependence of energy from abroad and fossils, and also to increase Latvia's competitiveness both at the European level and also in the world. This movement will ensure a sustainable use of resources and also adjustment to the consequences of climate changes and risks that they cause. Implementation of climate neutrality goal is very important, and it needs contribution of all the sectors in economy and also change of habits. Municipalities and planning regions also play important role in the implementation of climate policy. In order to improve the development of climate policy development, and have it at a national level and integrate sectoral policies, the ministry, with the support of Norwegian financial instruments, implement the project about climate change policy integration into sectoral and regional policy. Today, we have organized the midterm conference so that ministry, together with the partners, the Central Statistical Board, and also the Latvian State Environmental Geology and Meteorology Center, could give the information about what we have achieved within the project and what has to be done further, and also to speak about use of these activities to improve the climate policy in Latvia. We will get to know about regional climate indicators in the regions and also at the national level. And also we will analyze the climate data since 1945 till 2020, and also speak about the indicators of hydrologic warnings. And we have developed also the e-training course for municipalities and planning regions, and also about exchange of experience with the Environmental Agency of Norway and also experts of the Norwegian Meteorological Institute. Also, the project partner from Norway will share their experience within the conference. The implementation of project depends on the teamwork. Therefore, on behalf of the ministry, I give thanks to the project partners from Norway and also from Latvia, and also thanks to experts for cooperation we have had so far. And I wish to all of us together to achieve the goals set by the project and to achieve the results and outcomes. In the end, I would like to give thanks and express gratitude to all the participants of the conference for participating. Many of you are watching this conference online, and for all of us, I wish to have a successful day. Thank you very much. Thank you very much to the Deputy State Secretary of the Ministry of Environmental Protection and Regional Development. And so by this, we have finished the opening speeches, and we can start the conference with presentations and also reports about what has been done so far. So therefore, I would like to ask on stage our cooperation partners from Norway, and first Kari Harvesen, and please take your seat. And Kari Augustsson is the senior consultant of the Norwegian agency, and together with her we also have Solfrid Angersen, and we are also asking on stage, please, Solfrid, and she is the head of the forecasts in the Norwegian Meteorology Institute. And we also ask Solvita Degaine, who is the project manager of the climate changes. And first I would like to give floor to Kari Augustsson, and after your speech, also there will be questions on a Slido platform, so we will ask questions. Lud.
Thank you and good morning. As mentioned, my name is Kari Augustsson. I'm a senior advisor with the section for High North and Bilateral Relations at the Norwegian Environment Agency. It's a great pleasure to participate here at the midterm conference and to meet our Latvian partners. And of course, as Ina mentioned, to be here in Riga after so many years of cooperation online. The Norwegian Environment Agency is, as mentioned, a partner in the project, and I coordinate the Norwegian contribution. And I'm here today with a colleague from the Norwegian Meteorological Institute, Solfrid Angersen, and the project lead at the Environment Agency, Erlend Moster Knudsen, is participating digitally. The Norwegian Environment Agency works for a clean and diverse environment, and we implement and give advice on how to develop policy in priority areas such as climate, but also biodiversity, pollution, and outdoor life. And we actively engage in international cooperation because many of our environmental challenges are shared or common challenges. Through the EEA grants, we are the donor program partner in 8 countries, but this predefined project is the only one where we are a project partner, and it has been very rewarding, and we appreciate the possibility to engage directly with our Latvian partners and to contribute to the project's objectives. It has been a rewarding experience for our experts so far. So I'd just like to say thank you so much for the cooperation so far, and we look forward to cooperating in the future and providing more information on how we work. And I'm certain that the exchange of knowledge and expertise is valuable and fruitful for both countries. So thank you very much, and I wish everybody a nice conference. Thank you.
Thank you. And can I ask, please remain on the stage for the further questioning. Paldies. Tā runāja Kerija Marija Argusone.
Thank you to Carrie Mary Augustin. I am very sorry I made a mistake. Mytho Events Climate Conference is the platform where you can ask questions to the panel speakers. And on Slido, we will have our interactive activity. Our next speaker is Solfrid Augustin, Norwegian Meteorological Institute Forecasting Department.
Thank you very much for inviting me, and I'm really happy to be here and to be a part of this project. So I have a quite complex title here, Impact Warnings in a Complex World. I would like to share some of the Norwegian experiences. So I'm from the Norwegian Meteorological Institute. I'm the head of Division of Forecasting in Oslo. As we know that we really like to have a weather forecasting that a good forecast for every place and for every situation, and that the user really should understand the forecast. And this is the more classical value chain, as you know, that we are, as an NMHS, we are sending the warnings, and the user has to cope with it and do what he can. But in this impact-based warnings, and there we have other challenges, because then we have to look the other way around. So we had to start with the user. And what if we had known about how risk-willing the user were, if we had known how climate adapted he was on every different area, on every weather parameter, and that we did know about how the user would act in different situations, in different places in the country, and also different sectors. Here it's showed by the road authorities, the railway, the water and energy department, the police, the health care, and also the forestry and the telecommunication, and all these sectors. If we had known about how they would act in the different weather situation. So that's why WMO, the World Meteorological Organization, had made a guideline for multi-hazard impact-based forecast. Because we know that the forecast of what the weather will be is not enough, we had to know about what the user would do, and what and how they should save lives and livelihoods. So then it's these 5 issues here with the partnership, the risk communication, impact information, validation, and training. So yes, but first about adaptation and risk analysis, and how do this connect with the extreme weather preparedness, because we have to know about how the users has climate adapt. In Norway, we find that the risk analysis that exist, but not for every municipality and not for every weather phenomena. And they are not equally formulated, and they are not easy available for us. And they have also made the risk analysis for really extreme weather, so they are not so valuable for more severe weather situation. So yeah, we have to know more about the users and the sector, and we have to map the vulnerable infrastructure and also other vulnerabilities, as for example health. So we have now started a project together with the health authorities in Norway to see how temperature is connected to health issues and mortality. So the goal is to find an indicator on how to monitor this to warn the vulnerable people. So to combine temperature and data from mortality, sickness, and number of people to hospital. In Norway, that will be the health authorities that make the analysis, because it's so hard to share those kind of personal data. So we have to have a really good connection and cooperation with them. So here's just an example of how we monitor the heat wave today. But the temperature is quite difficult, because many people they like high temperatures, so it's a happy situation. But for many, it's a really health issue. So risk communication is a really important issue, because we have to achieve trust. And there again, we have to know the user and understand how they interpret the weather warnings and how they deal with the risk and the consequences. So we have also started a new project where we involve the social science to engage more with the users. So we need to know those experts and not only the meteorological expert to find more about this. So the goal is to get the same situational awareness together with the users. So again, we have to know more about them. And together we can define thresholds for how and when a warning should be issued. So based on their impacts. So therefore we also have this probability matrix, because some users maybe would like to have actions already on a 35% probability for extreme weather to happen. So this is a quite hot topic to involve probabilities. So we have this weather tableau already established in the Norwegian Meteorological Institute. So here you can see different parameters in Norwegian and the dates ahead. And this is the extreme weather Gyda. And this is for one region. And we are now in the way to set up weather tableaus together with different municipalities where they have made their own thresholds for when it should be yellow and orange and red. So even more about users and their impacts. It's many different areas to work with this on. In Norway, we have mountain roads. I'm not sure if you have the same problem in Latvia, but I guess the roads can be slippery here as well. But here in Norway, the roads can be closed, and that's very important to know if a road should be closed, if they should go with the transport the fish from the west coast to the east coast, and you know, it's much money Yeah, we are in the way to cooperate with them to have thresholds for each mountain road. And it's very important to identify all the challenges to reduce the potential damage. And this is another example from snow. And there is really important for the electrical companies and people without electricity, you know. So, but these are really difficult to evaluate afterwards. But for perhaps they have prepared so much that it's not so much damage. But we are working together with the road authorities to get data from the coastal delays, and also the Directorate of Civil Protection has built up a database of incident and impacts of natural hazards. But it's a lot of legal issues to get this data. Because you can get data down to a house, how much the final the cost, the insurance cost was for one house. So yeah, but it's a very nice concept that we can get the data from this and improve the or weather warnings of that. So, but we have to not forget that the weather forecast still has to be more accurate. We really need to know how much and with which intensity and where it will come. So we don't have to forget that in our work with impact-based forecast. So yeah. Together, we will work towards an impact-based warning system for the users to take action. If we did know the wind speed when the bridge will be closed and the roads would be closed, we could have warned on the correct level. And all this for the users to secure the life and property and livelihoods. So yeah, thank you.
Thank you to our speaker, our cooperation partner, Solfrid Hallgersen. We Latvians would not mind a warmer autumn considering the latest gas prices. If the winter is really harsh, we will trust your forecast. So please warn us in a timely manner.
And so we have one more presentation in the first part, and I would like to give floor to Mrs. Solvita Degaine, who is the head of the Climate Changes Department from the Ministry of Environmental Protection, and she will give an information about the progress of the project. Thank you very much to all the participants, and first of all, good day, hello. All the audience watching us online and project partners from Norway and from Latvia and all the experts involved. I'm really happy to greet you today in the project conference of Norway Grant. I will not say the title again because we've been saying it for so many times. But we have invited you in large numbers online to tell what we managed to do in the project so far and many challenges we have to manage to do till the end of the project. Already in the opening speeches, we heard that the project is implemented by our ministry. It is within the Norwegian grant, and it's together with three partners, the Environmental Agency in Norway, the Meteorology Center in Latvia, and Central Statistical Board in Latvia. We started the project in autumn, September 2020, and we still have time till September next year to finalize the project. The total funding is about 2 million euros. In the opening speeches, the minister and also the deputy state secretary already spoke about the importance of climate policy and also topicality of it, and therefore the goals of the project are in line with this strategic goal of the countries to improve the climate policy, development of this policy, and also implementation at the regional and national level. And there are two most important project activities, which are to develop additional instruments and also to integrate those instruments in the regional policies and national policies. And I'll speak about activities which are under those two main objectives. So in order to improve and to develop this climate policy, we developed two instruments. One of them, together with a project partner, Central Statistical Board, they are creating and developing the reporting system in order to implement climate policy at the regional level. So Central Statistical Board, within this activity, they have defined the climate indicators for the regional cities and towns in Latvia. And now they are working with the calculation model for these indicators. And also next year, the Statistical Board will have a workshop together with the agency from Norway about data collection and also working with those data. As a ministry, in order to be able to assess these measures that has to be taken for climate change mitigation at the regional level, we are developing easy-to-use and friendly model for the reduction of emissions in various sectors and how to assess measures taken at the regional level. And also this year, Ministry has started development of the state national budget planning instrument in order to assess how well and how much the state budget, the national budget, is aimed at reducing greenhouse gas emission and also whether it's in line with the climate objectives. And also this instrument could help in the future in the mid-term planning for the national budget. So we will try to make this national budget greener. Also, one of important activities which Ministry has been done together with other involved institutions, for example, with Technology University and Bioscience University of Latvia, and also Physical Energy Institute in Latvia, and also Latvian Environmental and Meteorology Institute. We are improving the national greenhouse gas emission inventarization system and also to improve the practice of reporting. And one more activity we've been implementing is done by the Environmental Meteorology Center of Latvia, and their activities provide support to decision makers, and also there is a portion of activities related to research and also information for the community. So for example, one of the activities which was also mentioned by our partners in Norway is to be prepared for extreme weather conditions, so that we are also preparing these impact-based warning systems. And within the project, we are developing the criteria of these warnings, and they are also implemented into operational activities. And within this activity, the Methodology Center is actively cooperating with experts of Environmental Agency and also Norwegian Environmental Agency partners. So that is done through emails and also consultations online. And we appreciate our colleagues from Norway that involve in the implementation of this activity. And within this activity, we are also assessing the climate changes scenario assessment, and we are also updating climate scenarios till 2100th year. And huge contribution also come from the Norwegian partners that share their experience how to choose the scenarios and choose the best scenario. And we cooperate closely with Norwegian partners within this measure. The rest of the activities, two of them, which are also implemented in the project by the Meteorological Center, is improvement of the integrated database MESUP, and also GAG inverterization database. So this database is updated according to the new requirements related to warnings, and also database about ozone layer is updated, considering that reporting to the companies about this situation and ozone layer and F-gases still is done in the paper format. We are developing the electronic database. So all this is done in order to be in line with requirements about reporting. And also the coastal erosion assessment is performed, and in the past and in the future, the analysis of the changes of these coastal lines are assessed. The second main activity implemented by us as a ministry was to integrate this climate policy into the sectoral policies. So to inform the sectors and also to encourage them to become more responsible in relation to the climate change mitigation, and just to help them to become more knowledgeable. The ministry is implementing 6 sectoral studies. For example, in the area of railway and road construction, building construction, territories usage plan, insurance, investment projects, and green portfolios and bonds. So we are analyzing how these policies are done internationally, also in Latvia and the EU, and how they are implemented within sectoral policies. And also we are trying to find the ways how we can implement this in Latvian legislation. And another activity we've been implementing within the project is the e-training courses development about climate changes. And the goal is to raise awareness of municipality employees and also raise capacity about climate policy and mitigation of climate changes and integration of these factors in the territorial planning documents. Here you can see the project implementation period. And I just wanted to outline that we started to develop the project already in 2018. So that was the beginning. Practically, by signing the contract, we did, and that happened in 2020. And then we had the opening conference and met some of you. And now we are meeting in this midterm conference when a lot has been done, but still a lot is ahead of us. I also wanted to emphasize that right now 9 institutions are involved in the project, and together there are 115 experts. And so next year we will most probably have a lot more. And finally, about the main results we want to achieve. So within this project, we will develop 3 instruments for climate changes. We have improved the national greenhouse gas inventorization system, and also we have developed at least 5 new warning criteria about hydrometeorological occurrences. Also, we have updated the coastal erosion assessment, and also we have developed possible scenarios and solutions how to avoid this erosion. We will develop 6 recommendations for legislation, and at least 16 state public institutions have increased ability to implement the climate changes policy. And one more important chapter is publicity of the project, which is implemented in the web pages and home pages of implementers of the project and also the partners of the project. And through various channels of information, we are trying to speak about the achievements in the project, the outcomes, and we are trying to raise the awareness of the community and to tell to the public in an easy to understand and friendly way what we are doing in this project. So you can follow in the specific webpage of the project, Klimatamlv, and also in our web pages. And thank you for your attention. And now I invite you to follow today's conference, because what I told was just a short part, and the experts of the project will tell more in detail what we have done so far. And so let us have a very interesting and productive conference today. Thank you very much.
Thank you to Solvita. The first question to you from our online visitors. So from the Mytho events platform, Alisa Vecozola is asking the following. You say that the climate change scenarios for Latvia have been updated. What can we expect by 2100? I think I will need help from our project partners, the ones who know more about climate scenarios. I know they have completed the analysis so far. Maybe that's a guy can give more information. If we are planning for a century, it's very difficult to answer off the cuff, right? So the question to our guests: impact warnings in this complex world. We heard a presentation from Norway, and I, as somebody who is in National Guard, can tell that we trust the Norwegian resources of weather forecasts. They are the first sources we look for, and they are really accurate. If you have to spend days in the trenches, it's very important to obtain accurate information. So this cooperation is very important. What is your opinion on the importance of international cooperation in combating climate change? What are the most important areas?
That's a very difficult question. Perhaps I'm a person that are working most with weather forecasting, so maybe you should answer it if it's about climate change.
I don't know. Our expert is participating digitally, so he's maybe not able to answer these questions. Yes, so I'm sorry, but the most important areas, I think it's one theme that goes that it repeats itself is, of course, this sectoral cooperation, I think, and it's been mentioned a few times. But as the ambassador mentioned, that now climate change is at the top of the agenda for many different sectors. And I think when everyone realizes the situation, it helps work together and plan together. Because if you don't have everybody on board, then it's difficult to make good plans and achieve the goals that we set out.
And then also to add that the cooperation between the climate change and the climate adapt people, they have to also cooperate with the preparedness people, because it's always something more that you can't adapt for everything. So you have to be prepared also that these two have to be connected in a way.
Paldies. Tak. Jautājums Solvit.
Thank you. A question to Solvita from our online viewers. A question from Olga. Have you planned, as part of the project, to look into the impact on agriculture, pests, weeds, and similar? And do you take into consideration public health? We haven't planned these activities as part of this project. I mean, the agricultural sector. I think the Oscar means adaptation. As part of the previous project of funded by Norwegian grants, we studied the risks for health, on risks for public health, and in the future we will definitely focus more on these sectors, and we will understand the climate change risks for public health better. So in the future we will be doing it. Thank you for the question to Olga. A question from those from the room. To what extent various stakeholders are involved in this project, for example, NGOs, various companies, and how this involvement has facilitated the implementation of the project? At this stage, we don't involve public at large a lot. We only inform the society. However, in the future, we envisage a range of awareness-raising workshops where we will be introducing with the results and conclusions of the project. And at these workshops, the industry experts and members of academia will take part. So we will mostly focus on cooperation with the sectoral experts. Thank you. We are planning for the next century, as far as I understand, and the questions are bound to appear. If you have any questions, please write them down. Conference.klimatam.mito is the platform you can ask your questions on. And we have a prize here, a COT meter, which will go to the most successful Oscar. Please use the Slido platform. The competition will take place on the Slido platform. It will be a kind of a revision on climate change. The competition will consist of two parts. The first part now, and the second part later. And we will, the jury will decide on the most successful participant. So there are two basic directions of climate change policy. What are they? Someone is answering from the room. Mitigating climate change and adaptation are two main directions. We have to adapt to the existing climate change. That is part of adaptation, and it means resilience, climate resilience. And for that purpose, we need to reduce the CO2 emissions in all sectors of national economy, and we have to compensate it by capture of CO2. It means climate neutrality. However, climate resilience means adaptation to climate change. It is the ability to overcome the challenges created by climate change and to sustain the operation of national economy. And we have to reduce the vulnerabilities against climate change in all public sectors. facilitate the maximum use of opportunities caused by climate change. So you will see a table. You'll just have to insert check marks what refers to climate resilience and what refers to climate neutrality. You will have to log on to the platform, slido.com. You will find a table. For example, low consumption construction buildings. What does it refer to? Climate resilience or climate adaptation. Meanwhile, we are continuing our conference. The second session will start with the topic defining climate indicators and developing methodology. And I give the floor to Armāns Plāte, who represents the Central Statistical Bureau. A lot of figures. Thank you. I will try to find the right buttons. The Central Statistical Bureau focuses on figures I need to focus. I'm just looking at the COT meter. I would really like to have it. It's such an important device for indoors and outdoors, and it's possible that the COT levels are rising where I am here on the stage. As soon as we don't know figures and the statistics, we are shocked. In any case, I would like to express my gratitude to the Ministry of Environmental Protection and our Norwegian partners, the Norwegian Financial Instrument, for the opportunity to work on climate indicators. Before developing our own set of climate indicators, we studied the climate pact indicators of European cities, the data used in other countries, and the Nordic countries are the front runners in this respect. So it is a double luck where Norway is our cooperation partner. Norway and other Nordic countries have the most extensive experience in this field. That was an intro from me. Our work is to ensure regular availability of regional indicators. In Latvia, a region means a planning region, regional cities, and other administrative units. We hoped that regional cities won't be included as it makes our work more difficult. CO2 emissions is the parameter we are studying for each region, and mitigating climate change, and with time, adaptation to climate change as well. So these are the three main categories we are studying indicators in. What is the progress? I will not read the long title. First of all, we wanted to see the range of indicators. Next, we consulted other institutions about what's important in Latvia, and the third stage is the development of methodology. I will not read the entire slide, but We will discuss the results with the regions and public institutions, namely what we publish and in what way. Here you see the range of indicators, the set of indicators, CO2 emissions, regional emissions, including regional cities, emissions in energy sector, transport sector, agriculture, waste management. So by sector, as you see, also emission intensity per capita, per inhabitant, and the total generated renewable energy for heating, electricity. I would like to emphasize that these data have been already included in our databases. So I could say that we have the data for 2021 already. So if municipalities are curious to check this data out, they are available. For example, the impact of transport on climate, zero emissions in transport, public transit management, number of passengers per year, the biological territories and changes in forestry territories. So are the changes we are moving towards. A very ambitious plan. Eurostat, the European statistics system, is focused on the Green Deal. And in fact, we have a lot of data at our disposal. The question is how to regroup them correctly to ensure they work for the specific objective. Who do we consult? Our ministry and the planning regions, all planning regions of Latvia, and the respective administrative units. In Zemgale, it's Jelgava, in Vidzeme, Cēsis, and in Latgale, Rēzekne, and Daugavpils. What are the main results? We have huge support, especially from the planning regions. It seems that the small administrative units haven't been involved to such extent yet. The planning regions are very happy about the counseling sessions. So we answered their questions and we agreed on the scope. If previously we mostly focused on small administrative units, then the planning regions also believe they need this involvement as they are responsible for smaller administrative units. We have also agreed that we will continue the consultation process as we develop the methodology. What is the result? The first outcome we've reached is in electricity field, electricity generation in various planning regions. As we see in the diagram, the blue bar shows the total, the green bar shows the renewable resources, and the brown bar shows the energy produced from fossil fuels. So Riga planning region seems to be quite climate neutral. The situation is a little bit worse in Latgale. We produce energy mainly in cogeneration stations. Next outcome, heating energy. The situation is the worst in Riga with fossil fuels, but everyone knows that. And Vidzeme, Kurzeme, Zemgale are approaching their objective of not being dependent on fossil fuels. Biomass and Salaspil's solar panels are also included in these calculations. Total generated renewable heating energy, biogas, the same results, but in percentage we see that Vidzeme planning region shows the best results, and Latgale planning region has to do better. Electricity. So you see an illustrative example. We use the data from the database of the Statistical Bureau. You can obtain figures by administrative units. We're showing the aggregate results. A few administrative units of each planning region, how these administrative units deal with the energy issues. On this slide, you see the percentages per administrative unit. For example, in Alūksne County, the heating energy is fully obtained from renewable resources. On this slide, you see the module. You can see the figures. Tell me who is doing best of all. It is a model for calculating the percentage of energy used from renewable resources for heating and other purposes. So we see the figures for the fossil fuels, for renewable resources. Please do not focus on the figures. We are still updating them. We have not obtained data from all sources yet for all years under review. Regarding this slide, it is important to note what our approach was. The emissions in regions and counties depend on electricity consumption in the respective territory. It does not depend on production, but rather on consumption, electricity consumption, as the electricity consumer determines the extent of consumption. If we have the cogeneration stations, which cause emissions, we have to focus on electricity consumption, and the results may not always be clear because of that. In percentage, the total emissions in the regions are, as you see in this table. If I'm not mistaken, it is the Finnish model. We are focusing on consumption and not on the production sites. If we focus on production sites, there will be counties where they do not produce any electricity, but they will still be held accountable. The next slide illustrates the energy production, consumption, and total energy. So it seems I have exhausted the time allocated to me. It seems that you agree with everything. Thank you.
And so right now we are still waiting for questions, and you just heard Armand Plate, who is the director of the agriculture and environmental statistics of the Central Statistic Bureau. And the next speaker will be Mrs. Sanne Galindom, who is the senior expert in the climate changes department, and she will speak about development of the model for the greenhouse gas emission reduction costs and assessment of benefits at the regional level. And she will speak online. Hello, my name is Sanne, and I will speak about one of the activities. So to develop a model to assess the costs of the greenhouse gas emission reduction measures and to assess the benefits at the regional level. So why this model is necessary for us? I would like to emphasize the regional level. So at the regional level, we have to be able to assess the measures which are needed for the climate changes mitigation measures, and also to make decisions and to also raise awareness about climate policy aspects at the regional level, and also to, at a timely basis, to improve the policy and mechanisms at the climate change area. And the goal of the project was to develop an easy-to-use model and decision-making system for various economic sectors: energy, transport, agriculture, waste management, industry, and land use change, and forestry, and also provide insight into the assessment and direct and indirect GH emission changes. And this model will provide these costs and economic benefits as a result of the implementation of measures. And in order to achieve those objectives, there are specific measures. So first, to identify various measures, how to reduce GHG emissions. Second, to assess the impact on measures, also costs and benefits for economy. Number three is to develop the method how to assess measures. And number four, to ensure the collection of data from all the large cities in Latvia and also municipalities of regions. And when all these tasks are done, number five is to develop the computerized solution of this model and decision support system, and also to organize informative seminar about this model. And what are going to be the results? So first of all, there will be assessment about efficiency of various measures, how to impact GHG emission balance and costs and benefits, and how they are balanced. And the model would ensure various calculations, for example, assessment of direct emissions and indirect, and also cost effectiveness, and also benefits for the economic sectors. And this model would ensure also assessment of changes at the national and regional level. And here you can see the indicative structure of model, how the ministry would like to see. So first of all, the user choose the planning region, which is whether Riga or Vidzeme region or Zemgala region. And then they choose a specific municipality or large city. And then they choose the specific sector of the economic which they want to assess. And from this list of measures, they choose specific one enters the data, and the model helps to provide the assessment, the results are also shown in a very easy to understand way, and the charts are easy to read. And here we can look at a specific example, how this would look and how the user can use. So the user chose Vidzeme region, Cesis municipality, then the sector is transport, and the activity is purchase of electric cars. So the user is planning to use 100 electric cars and replace the existing fleet. And therefore, they need to have this assessment of existing situation in Thesis municipality. And so this could be data about number of cars and other data. And then the model calculates the changes as a result of this measure. And they are also compared with the total emissions in the sector, and also regional emissions and national emissions. What are the benefits of this model? As a result of this model, we will have the following outcomes. So first, it is support to decision making based on assessment of costs and benefits. Next is raised awareness about link between policies and implemented activities and expected GHG emissions, and also a possibility to assess the possible measures in order to adapt to climate changes, and also the methodology will be improved for calculating GHG emissions. And in the end, I would like to inform that the ministry has already announced the procurement process. You can look at the system of electronic procurements. The interested persons can apply by 11th of October, and the implementation is still at the end of the project. So thank you very much for your attention. And if you have any additional questions, I will be happy to answer. Thank you very much. Thank you, Zane. And also you can ask your questions to Zane and in the platform climate conference and mitoevents.com. So there are so many platforms. And competition platform is still available at Slido, and you're fighting for this CO2 emission measurer. Armand has one question, but that will be in one question and answer section later. Let's go further. The next speaker will be Laima Bērziņa, who is the leading researcher from Latvian Bioscience and Technology University, and she will speak about the agricultural sector. So the floor to you. Yes, thank you very much. Hello to everyone. So I will speak about our achievements in relation to the implementation of new guidelines about registering the GHG emissions in the agricultural sector. So the main our activities were related to the guidelines from 2019 and implementation of them. And I must point out that new guidelines have a totally different approach in relation to the groups of calculation of emissions. So it means that we didn't need to think about calculation in a different way, but how to restructure the calculations considering new groups and new grouping. So if the groups change, so it means that we needed for the calculations of emissions, we needed in various groups recalculate these indicators and these numbers. And as the expected outcome was that using the existing information and data, we implement the new guidelines and also see what effect has the new guidelines in comparison with the previous ones. And here we have our project group. In the project, we had several researchers involved from 3 faculties, and we were greatly supported by the team from the agricultural faculty, and that calculated GHG emissions, and then also we also had a team that helped with manure management systems, and also experts from other faculties. As I said, this recalculation was binding for all the groups of agricultural animals, and the biggest changes we needed to divide the cattle, the agricultural animals, by the productivity groups. This request was not before, and so we needed to define what we understand with high productive animals and low productive or low yield animals. So we analyzed the number of agricultural animals and analyzed existing information in the databases of Statistic Bureau, and also looked at databases available at the ministry. And we, of course, focused on the publicly available data. And if we look at the results, we need, of course, to look at additional sources. And considering the existing situation, researchers made recommendations for those who prepare inventarization in relation to the statistics about animals in these productivity groups. And so here you can see, and I will tell about our results achieved. And due to the limitation of time, I will just emphasize one most important group in the agricultural sector, and this is milk and meat bovines, and I will specifically speak about the group of these milking cows. And in our country, if we look at the milking, 70% can be defined as highly productive and 30% as low productive animals. And the next step was to divide these groups in subgroups, more detailed subgroups, especially these younger animals. So right now also our calculation is done in 7 subgroups. So for younger animals, heifers, and that are not have not received this achieved this level of milking cows, and so we divided them by this age, considering the statistics and considering necessity, and this kind of divide by groups was provided in order to calculate the emissions also for younger animals. And here you can see the subgroups looking towards the meat bovine. And here I would like to speak about one problem which was identified. So if we use statistics and fixed data, the researchers actually discovered that the number of animals in the younger age is very, very fluctuating, and we have to take this into the consideration when we make GHG and emission calculations. And so the recommendations was given how more precisely calculate the average number of animals per year. And in order to make the calculations about newly defined groups, it was important also to determine the chemical composition of feed and also calculate digestibility, because that also impact the calculations and will be very useful when we calculate emissions. When we define the specific groups of cattle and animals and how to calculate the numbers, we also prepared the necessary indicators related to feeding. And the next issue we had to solve is the manure processing systems. And here also we needed to work with the algorithm and adapt it and make it more adaptable to the new groups. And here you can see how the division of the systems look like from milking cows. So when we look at the existing guidelines and the new guidelines, so we compare the 2006 guidelines and 2019 refinement. And we see that the liquid manure proportion increases to 65%, and the dry, the hard manure is 30%. And so in the end, as a result, the emissions are increased. And here we can see the end result of emission calculation. And because in our country we have high proportion of high productivity cattle, and considering this liquid manure and considering feeding parameters, we come to the conclusion that these end emissions for milking cows, considering the new guidelines, has a tendency to increase. Here we also have a comparison where we, on average, calculated per 1,000 cows what is the result of emission. And for high productive cows, this end result, of course, is higher. And now about our results we have mainly achieved. So we have prepared methodological cards for each group of animals. And we summarize in these cards the main information that is needed for registration and calculation of emissions. And also, as a great achievement, I would like to emphasize that the result of this project will be that we will be able to turn to better calculation system for sheep, and we will also have prepared two important publications which will be useful also as a justification for indicators and ratios we use for asking questions from our international colleagues. So what is going to be the most difficult according to new guidelines? This is a collection of data. That will need a lot of efforts, and we will need some extra resources for collection and processing the data. And also, according to the information and the system historically we had, there will be needed a lot of effort. We will need a lot of effort to make. And also, in the methodology of calculations, we can achieve higher levels. Thank you very much.
Let's applaud to the speaker. Please ask your questions to Laima in at the Mito events platform. The questions are coming in. Let's continue. And the last presentation in this session is Laima. Is representative of the Latvian National Forestry Institute and the Latvian Biological Sciences Technology University. Hello, everyone. I represent the Latvian Institute of Forestry Sciences, and I will tell you more about what is happening in the field of land use, change of land use and forestry. And what we do, we try to improve the inventory in this sector and cooperate with other experts in the Baltic to find the best possible solutions. There are two major parts to this study. First of all, we assess the additional guidelines of and how we could implement these guidelines in Latvia and with what results. It is similar to what is happening in agriculture. But in this case, we are studying this existing situation in the Baltic. And the second part is wetland management and including this category in the mandatory calculation of CO2 emissions. And wetland category is a very complex category. Therefore, we had to make an inventory of the inventory and prepare a structured plan on how we can improve better quality data and how to cooperate with institutions better and what additional studies have to be conducted. In addition, we cooperate with experts of other Baltic states, also experts from Norway. Networking among these experts is very important as we looking for regional solutions. It is possible that other Baltic states have a better solution, for example, with regard to capacity of human resources and funding allocation. Such networking events and looking for regional solutions are an important part of this project. What will we improve? A unified understanding nationwide and in regions about how the 2006 guidelines have to be improved with regarding to management of wetlands and what each Baltic state should do. In this respect, we should focus on regional solutions. A closer cooperation among the experts in the field, including the scientists in the field. This study facilitates the better data collection in the sector of land use, changes of land use and forestry, so that the results of inventory are better. What are the three main cooperation institutions? The ones working on inventory in this field, the Forestry Institute Silava from Latvia and the Forestry Service, as well as Republic of Estonia Environment Agency. Regarding the sub-activities, we have drafted the final report and submitted it to the ministry. The report includes the progress so far, what the state of affairs is, and what the impact on CO2 emissions could be if we use the additional guidelines in the inventory, which we will do sooner or later. What are the main conclusions where the impact is the biggest in the category of wetlands and flooded land? However, we will need some additional data. The guidelines offer default factors for CO2 and CH4 emissions, reported emissions, and We believe that there are additional emissions we did not require so far, which means we need to obtain additional data about flooded land. In other categories, we haven't established any major changes, but if we use a higher level methodology in any of the categories or sections, we will need a more a better justification why tier 3 methodology would be required and is adequate. Regarding the second subactivity, wetland management and CO2 capturing of CO2 emissions in this category, we have drafted an interim report and have submitted to the ministry. We are continuing our work to prepare a final report by the end of the year. We have summarized information of the institutional system, what the status quo is. We have cooperated with the experts from the Latvian Statistical Bureau, for example, about peat extraction. We have cooperated with the experts from the Baltic states about the peat extraction data. We have established the issues and how inventory is carried out in the Baltic states in the category of wetlands. By the end of the year, we will prepare a systemic information, how we should improve the activity data, what other institutions should be involved, what additional studies or calculations are required, and what the costs, the approximate costs could be. It is very important as well to develop proposals for introducing higher level methodology in terms of peat used in agriculture. We can use the immediate disintegration method, but however, it is possible to use a higher level methodology. There are certain indications which means that it could be possible in the regional level in the Baltic states. And finally, we have to summarize all the data regarding the wetlands of 2019, wetlands and other land categories. We need a systematic aggregate data. We will draft a report about each Baltic state regarding CO2 and inventory systems in all of these states. It is very important to cooperate with experts from other Baltic states as part of this project. You can see a picture from our last meeting on the slide. We have had 8 meetings altogether, and there are 2 more planned by the end of the year. The questions we work on are specified on the slide. In any case, we go forward and work on whatever is most important at any given moment. That is not all. We also cooperate with experts from Norway. On the 5th of May this year, we had an extensive workshop with over 20 participants. It was an online workshop. Experts from Norway, from Nibio, took part, as well as experts and colleagues from the ministries of Latvia, for example, the Ministry of Environmental Protection and Ministry of Agriculture, colleagues from Lithuania and Estonia, and the representatives of Tartu University. In this workshop, we discussed various topics, not only those directly related to our study, Also regard to carbon in soil, forest soils, and so on. Then we had very positive feedback after this workshop. Such information exchange is very important, and we plan to continue it in cooperation with experts from Sweden. In November, December, we are planning another similar workshop with participation of scientists and peat extraction experts, and we could discuss how to calculate peat disintegration methodology better. On the 20th of October this year will be a cooperation meeting with agriculture experts and experts in land use, change of land use, and forestry. It will be a networking event, and it could turn out to be a very valuable cooperation event between agriculture and the sector of land use and forestry. It was a short summary of what we do. That is all on my part. Thank you. Thank you to Eva. Before we take a break, a short QA session. I hope Zana and Laima are still online. A question to Mr. Plate from Gaida Klava. You mentioned CO2 calculations for heat energy production. Do you mean only the centralized heat production section, or do you also calculate CO2 emissions for households? Please turn on the microphone. It is the entire sector. It includes households and the centralized heat production. I hope the question was answered. The next question to Zanne. Zanne, can you hear us? A question from Margarita. What climate change reduction measures will be included in the present model, or are there specific measures for the agriculture and forestry? We will include all sectors of national economy, including agriculture and the sector of land use, change of land use, and forestry. They will be CO2 reduction and capture measures. Another question to Zane. You presented the development of a regional model, and as I could understand, the scope will be different from the CSP regional project. To what extent will you ensure the synergy between these two projects? When we start developing this model, we will consult the Central Statistical Bureau, and the synergy will be ensured to a specific extent. Question from Raimons. When calculating agriculture CO2 emissions, you have to take into consideration the percentage of bovine in Latvia. With regard to inventory methodology in the sector of agriculture, we do not take this percentage, the density, into consideration. We take into consideration the number of heads. So the density is not used as a parameter in calculation. If you have any other questions, you're welcome to ask them at the Mytho platform. Another question to Eva. What is the difference? Are there any differences among other Baltic states in the sector of land use, change of land use, and forestry? Thank you for the question. I mentioned the regional solutions, and when working together with the colleagues from other Baltic states, we see that we are neighbors, which means we have a lot in common. However, the regional solutions help us reach better outcomes. Each Baltic state has a stronger area where the more research has been done. At our last meeting, we discussed with our Estonian colleagues. They have CO2 emission results from amelioration ditches. We don't have this data from Latvia. If we combine our expertise and data with the Estonian colleagues, we can achieve a better results at a lower cost. If I have to say if the situation is different or similar, the situation is similar, but each country has their own specific approach. But there's more. We have more in common than not. So if you have a question, please write them on the platform and address them to a specific panel speaker. Now we have a little break until 11:55. Please be punctual as people are watching us online on Facebook, on YouTube, and we will continue. Please continue to taking part in the competition on Slido. And at the end of this conference, we will find out who was the best. Let's resume work at 11:55.
brīnumainā.
Miraculously, everybody is very disciplined and everybody is back here, so you receive A for this. And continuing our conference, I would like to remind a couple of technical things. You can watch us YouTube and Facebook online broadcasts, and this can be found conference klimat.mitoevents.com. And in this site you can pose and write questions to the speakers, and we will answer. And in Slido platform you have to solve the riddle, and that would determine who gets CO2 measurer. So Mito events, you can ask questions and fighting for this
Hidrometeoroloģiskā brīdinājuma sistēma tātad veids, kā tiek gan sabiedrība, gan atbildīgās institūcijas, gan arī iesaistītās organizācijas brīdinātas par potenciāliem draudiem, ko rada meteoroloģiskie vai hidroloģiskie apstākļi. Vienalga, vai tie būtu plūdi, kas ir gaidāmi, piemēram, pavasarī sniega kušanas un ledus iešanas rezultātā, vai tās ir vētras, vai tie ir pērkona negaisa, jā, tātad jebkura no dabas parādībām.
Tātad mums, lai uztaisītu šo modeli, ir pieejams jau zemes virsmas modelis, bet mums nav precīzi dati par to, kas notiek zem ūdens. Mums ir vēsturiskās kartes, kuras var izmantot, bet šie dati ir jāprecizē, jo laika gaitā upes mainās arī viņu. Tāda līkuma visādi izveidojās, kaut kādas meandras veidojās, tas viss ir jāprecizē. Tad arī tiek sastādītas jau sākotnēji aptuvenie punkti, kur mēs mērīsim. Protams, mēs taisam nosīt vienkārši profilu. Ik pēc noteikti gabala, noteiktā upes posmā. Vai mēģina tad aiz kaut kādām pietekām vai kaut kādiem ūdens kritumiņiem, kaut kādām tādām vietām, lai būtu redzēt šīs raksturīgās izmaiņas. Un tad jau savukārt citi speciālisti tos visus liek kopā un skatās, modelē kopā visu kopējo zemes to virsmas modeli. Un pavasarī tā piekļūšana ir vienkāršāka. Arī rudenī tas pats ir. Ja vēl nav kokiem lapas izplaukuši, kas savukārt mums atvieglo vairāk to precīzo mērīšanu, arī upes nav aizaugušas, ūdens līmenis ir plus mīnus jau nokrities, varam iet un varam arī braukt, jo ziemā traucē ledus, savukārt vasarā ir vai nu grūti braukt ar laivu, vai nu grūti brist, jo līdz tām upē bija jānokļūst arī, kas vasarā nav tik viegli kā šobrīd.
Dodamies ūdenī.
Okay, let's go to the water and to improve the early warning system. And this is going to be the topic for the next presentation. And so improvement of the national early warning system and to develop the criteria of these warning systems about hydrometeorology. And the speaker will be Mrs. Māra Mackeviča, who is the analyst of Geological and Meteorology Center of Latvia. Hello, my name is Māra. And today I will speak about improvements of early warning system and development of hydrometeorological warning criteria. The main goal of this project was our center, together with the State Rescue and Fire Rescue Service, to improve the system about hazardous hydrometeorological circumstances. So sub-objective or sub-goal is to develop and update the warning criteria. The warning criteria are based on mathematical calculations and also cooperation with public institutions and municipalities. And topicality is very simple. These new criteria will allow us more precisely and efficiently assess hazardous situations which are caused due to strong wind, rain, snow, also flooding in spring, so that we can warn the public and responsive services and also public institutions about the situation and how to act in those circumstances. So far, we have done analysis from 5 to 100 years. We have also done the impact analysis of hydrometeorological data, and we have successful cooperation with other organizations, the State Rescue Service, also Emergency Service, and Latvian State Forests and the Electricity Distribution Network and several municipalities, Sigulda, Jelgava, and Liepāja. We also have a successful cooperation with Norway Meteorological Institute that support us with online seminars, share their experience, help us to define these warning criteria using climate data, and also to prepare warnings and how to inform the public. A little bit more about the impact. During a year and a half, we have done statistical analysis of data of very wide range. First of all, we have determined and defined parameters that are analyzed with third parties' data. Second, we have discovered some correlations, tendencies in those data that means that we are looking at these breaking points. Like at this picture, at this image, there is an information from the emergency service. And we can see that when the temperature is -2, between -2 and -4, there are a lot of calls that people have fallen on the street. And so analysis of this information help us to see at what meteorological situation is the biggest impact. And based on this impact, we define the warning criteria. We have calculated the values of hydrometeorological indicators with various frequencies, and that help us to determine the time when these events can occur. So we have indicated hydrological warning criteria with several frequencies. So the yellow warning is with frequency once per 2 to 5 years. So it means that this occurrence is not dangerous, but one has to be informed about what is happening, that in this region there is a possibility of some hazardous situation, and people have to be informed. Orange has frequency once per 10 years. So it means that such hydrometeorological circumstances and situation is forecasted. That happens rarely, and a person has to know it and has to be prepared that some kind of damage on financial losses might happen. And the red is with frequency once per 50 years. So it means it's extreme hydrometeorological circumstance situation, and the person has to be act and be ready that this in the flooding in spring there could be evacuation. And also to the monitoring stations that have municipality criteria. We use those criteria, and so this is critical to have cooperation with municipalities, because municipalities monitor the territories, and this is very important when we define the criteria, how to forecast and how to model these situations. We are also working with a totally new criteria, implementation of those criteria. And in hydrology, it is related to the periods of dryness, especially in summer. So we are developing those in indexes, and in meteorology this is related to ultraviolet radiation and also risk of fire and risk of frost. And all these criteria are determined by analyzing impact data. And subsequently, in this image, you can see when is the dry season and at which season we might encounter those dangerous situations. And this stage of developing new criteria will conclude, and we are moving to the use of new warning criteria, and we have them in the system brīdinājumi.meteo.lv, and during the rest of the period project, we will continue with data analysis or impact data analysis and also development of database. We will also involve other municipalities and organizations. We will assess effectiveness of warning system, and we will also develop and implement guidelines for operational impact assessment in the process of preparing the warnings. Right now, we are looking how strong is the wind and whether the water level raises by 1 meter or 2 meters. But it is very important also to look at the impact information. So what could happen at the specific situation and how to inform the society in the best effective way, most effective way, so that some very dangerous situations wouldn't be, and people would not know what to do. So analysis of this impact data is very important. This is all from my side. Thank you. Thank you. I have a question to Mara, and I hope that you as well. So you can ask those questions using the platform. And let us move forward. So now I will give floor to Mrs. Dace Gaile, who is the head of the forecast and climate modeling department, and she will speak about the climate changes scenario until 2100 year, and updating of this scenario, and also analysis of the past and future scenarios. Yes, so I will speak about our conclusions, looking at our assessments and what we have monitored in the past and future scenarios. And the goal is to see what kind of climate changes we had in Latvia historically, and also based on IPCC's 6 data to see new scenarios and estimate what's climate going to be in Latvia by the end of the century, so that the policymakers have some kind of data to base on their decisions. So we use IPCC 6 data, and previously we also worked with a similar project where we calculated what kind of climate we will encounter by the end of the century, and it was based on RCP scenarios and models. But now we have new SSP models, and that have the previously RCP models, which was mainly about GHG gases and so on, and the new models, new scenarios, where we have this impact on the public. So we include data about GDP and urbanization and many other data, which is a result of the public behavior. And let us start looking at what we have done. We have analyzed the data from the past, and we have created and arranged the data rows for various indicators, and these data rows we have extended. So we have done and extended these data rows for the past until 2020, and there is average temperature, maximum, minimum temperature, the precipitation, and the average wind speed, about snow, and about average sea temperature and sea level. And we use all the data from monitoring stations, and I can say that we have looked also at the sea temperature, and we don't use only our data in the past, but we used also some reanalysis data to improve the precision of data and make it more detailed. And here we can see the information what we have done. There are 4 separate sections and a little bit about each of them. So first of all, what we have done, we digitalized the historic data. And I must say that this digitalization will be done also further. So today, of course, we understand all the data are automated, but in the past, there was a methodologist working in the stations and manually noted down the data. So we are entering those data in the databases so that we can continue work with that. And we are doing this already, and it will continue also in the future. When the data are digitalized, we need to do the quality control because the IT person who is digitalizing can make mistakes. Also, the methodologist who historically did this record also might make mistakes, and then there could be also mistakes with sensors and so on. So with various quality algorithms, we are trying to catch those mistakes and try to liquidate them. And then also we are filling in the gaps because not all the stations have worked in all the periods. So we are looking for various algorithms for various indicators and various monitoring stations in order to fill in these gaps. And of course, we look at the length of these gaps. If it's for several years, we will not replace them. But if it's only a couple of days, then we will try to replace this data so we can get these longer data chains. And next is homogenization of historic data, where we were looking for the best data to make those data homogeneous. So in order for you to understand, it's the same as I said before. So in the past, we had a methodologist sitting on the spot and manually writing down all these data. And now it's done automatically. And when this change from one type of data collection to another data collection is done, then we see some fluctuations. For example, the air temperature has increased or reduced. And in order to be sure that this is really climate changes, but not because there is a change of sensors or a change of placement of stations. So therefore, we need make these data homogeneous, and all these data rows, they are made homogeneous. Then we have also done the calculation of indexes, and we have calculated many indexes, temperature indexes, for example, heat waves, tropical day and nights, also the days when the temperature is below 0, also extreme rain conditions or windless days, wind index, and so many other indexes which we are planning also to calculate in the future in order to see the changes. So that we can compare data about the past and also see what we can forecast about the scenarios in the future. And interpolation of data. This is characteristics and characterizing each municipality. So we want to have this information available at the level of each municipality. Not every municipality has a data monitoring station, but therefore we are working to look for the best methods how each municipality could receive those data. And here also I would like to share what experience we had in cooperation with Norway Meteorological Center. We have met in online meetings and we have discussed about future climate models and the choice of them and which are the most successful future models for our climate and our situation. And we have spoken about bias correction and also downscaling, and the last meeting was about impact assessment, which thanks to the previous project we had already experience with, but now we go more in detail. And now about the future climate data analysis. Already today we heard that basically this project we started already in 2019. And about all this, the goal was more kind of optimistic, and we had planned that all the regional models would be already made and everything ready, and we would be able to work with them, but it didn't happen so quickly. Physically, we were not able to obtain all the regional data, and we were not able to process and work and analyze this future climate so fast. So unfortunately, we don't have so optimistic results, because also in the whole world, the situation last 2 months made us to slow down. And our goal was to look at and to have this data in the past, and also make forecasts about the future. And we are planning for the 30-year period, because climate is usually analyzed within periods of 30 years, not shorter. So in the future, we look at these 30-year periods, and especially we want to emphasize the moment when the temperature increases by 1.5 or 2 degrees. And the results we will receive will be summarized and also disseminated to municipalities. And looking at possible scenarios, we will see which one is the best applying and the most suitable for Latvia. And as a end result, we are planning to have an end report where we will describe methods and also outcomes, and also the summary for policymakers, and we also want to inform the public. So we will create infographics where we would include all the results, so that the public can feel and see how topical and how important are those climate changes. And then we are also planning to improve and update our climate tool. If you are interested, you can see the current tool with RCP results, but now we are planning to have this updated and improved tool, where you will see also the future scenario data. And then we are also planning to organize a regional seminar where we will tell about climate changes and how they will evolve till the end of the century. So this is all from me. Thank you very much.
Thank you to Dace. We have questions coming in, and the questions about not only 30 years ahead, but 50 years ahead, so be prepared. The last presentation of this session will be concluded by Walter Žežis, oceanologist. We will be discussing the coastal erosion assessment and establishment of coastline. Hello. I would like to continue, and I will tell you what we have achieved in our project when assessing the dynamics of coastal erosion in Latvia. It is clear that the climate is bound to change in the future. Extreme weather will be more frequent, and the water levels will rise, the storms will be more frequent, which can be an acute problem in Latvia, where they mostly have slopey sand beaches, which are subject to weather. Why was it important to study the dynamic coastal erosion? Our coastal line is long, it's mostly sandy, so the most part of the coastline will be affected by climate change in the future. Therefore, we need quantitative and qualitative assessment of these changes in the coastline to be able to establish the sections mostly affected by erosion, which is important for planning. So far, monitoring was carried out manually. using profile measurements, and we, as an innovation, used remote sensing data and satellite data to assess any changes in the coastline. I already told you that previously it was done manually on site. Now we're using satellite data to establish any changes. We use this data from Sentinel-2, European satellites. We plan on using other satellites as well. The data processing mechanism we've created is adaptable for the use of other data, but it primarily it is based on Sentinel-2 data. A few illustrations of how this process looks like. There are several data processing stages. You can see how we detect clouds, cloud shadows, coastline. What have we achieved? Our activity can be divided in three major categories. Data collection is the development of a database and access to the database. Second part is initial data processing to obtain the coastline data and the changes over time. And the third category is visualization, so that we can show the results to people and we can use them in the future. What have we achieved as part of this project? This year we attended a Baltic Earth conference in Poland, and we presented our progress so far. At the time, it was only an interim report, their interim results. In the pictures, you can see the lines we extracted, the coastlines we extracted over the course of the year, and indicators we established. So we created an illustration of coastline, and it can be used in a statistical analysis further on. Regarding our future plans and what we actually have started doing and will continue doing, one of the coastal sections for in-depth analysis is at Bernati Beach. We use drones and commercial satellite data to study this section. You can see a mosaic without clouds captured from the satellites. You can see what the space we study looks like, and these mosaics change over time. This visualization changes. One of our intentions is creating seasonal illustrations, which we can divide into smaller sections to see how specific storms impacted the coastline and how the coastline changed in specific sections over time. Another objective is comparison of these data. They are in different resolution. The costs differ, so it was important for us to understand if it is worth paying for these data and how often it's worth paying for this data and what the benefits are compared to obtaining free data from, for example, Sentinel-2. We plan to include these findings in the final report. On this slide, you see the submissions we have envisaged. A map based on geolocation data, the coastline divided in specific sections where people can see these sections and dynamic changes they will be color coded. We'll see where the erosion is most pronounced, how fast it is in specific sections, how intense it is. It may be a specific storm which facilitates erosion of the coastline, or it may be a longer dynamic process as a result of coastal development. We will publish all this data for everyone interested, as well as the methodology used. And everyone interested will be able to access the processed data, and the planners will be able to use them in their work directly. Anyone interested who can read these data and finds them useful will be able to get acquainted with them. And it will be a final presentation about our research. That's all on my behalf. Thank you. Thank you. A house on the beach may be a risky business, wouldn't it? The insurers wouldn't be very happy if you wanted to insure a house on the beach and on the coast. Thank you for your presentations. The first question, Tamara, from those watching us online. Do we observe red code weather in Latvia, which could affect us even more as a result of climate change? I will not be able to answer from a meteorological perspective, but from hydrological perspective, last year during the flooding season, we issued a red warning for Ogre city. In my opinion, the real estate development near the river is very risky. So people living in Ogre and Dikšķile are very dependent on climate change. Yes, they are. Are there any differences between the previous and present warning criteria? Yes, there are numerical differences, and we also pay more attention to the impact data. For example, heavy snow. It makes difference if it happens on Saturday evening or Monday morning, then people commute to work, or maybe it's only the first snow in mid-November and people haven't changed their tires for winter tires. So in that case, the warning level is much higher as opposed to heavy snow on a Saturday night. So warning criteria have changed, and they changed due to the impact information at our disposal. I hope we listen to your warnings better. Okay, next question. Coastal profile measurements show the percentage of sediments in the coastline and its resilience. And very often the vertical component is missing and the data are incomplete. Have you thought of preventing this gap? The microphone is not turned on. Okay. These measurements are usually time sensitive. And these data do not give a clear picture of the dynamics so we try to compare these data. However, we do not study the changes in surface, in land surface. We just pay a focus on the changes in water level, for example, and the coastline. The point where we take pictures is considered the representative example of water and land surface, and we use it would be important to develop the methodology. However, our present capacity means that water line measurements is the main source of information. Is it true that in the bay we're using coastal land and Estonians are gaining more land? From the circulation of the Baltic Sea, it is a logical conclusion. The currents circulate opposite clockwise. In that way, we can, by the same analogy, we can say that Poland is giving their coastline to us. So in specific sections, it may be the case. That's a question to you. Are these climate scenarios credible, and can we use them in our favor? Scenarios and models are two different things. Climate models are more general and scenarios are more specific. Initially, we compare historical data series with present models, as these models are built not only to forecast the future, but they include the historical data series. So we compare if a historical data series coincide with our observations, and then we can conclude how credible the respective models are in Latvia. We cannot know for sure what CO2 gases will be, how we as a society will react. Therefore, scenarios are different, and the calculations are based on multiple scenarios. Over time, we will see which scenarios are more likely, and then we will be able to say that this or that scenario will come true, and the results will be the following over the coming 30 years, for example. That's why we use multiple scenarios. Another question to Walters. How far in the past can we obtain remote sensing data, and are there any limitations to using remote sensing data? We use Sentinel data, as I mentioned before. They're high-quality data. However, the archive is not as deep as we would have liked. We have the data only for 2015-16. However, there's a Lancet mission. They are open-source optic data. We haven't obtained such data up to the mid-80s. And to answer the second part of the question, if there are any limitations, spatial resolution, if we study older data, their resolution, the grid resolution is of lower quality. The data are not as available. And it makes complex analysis more difficult. However, if we analyze historical data, we have to use worse resolution. I don't see any other questions. I don't see any other questions online. If that's the case, thank you to our panel speakers. Let's conclude our third session today. And before we start our concluding session of our conference, a short video.
Klimats mainās, un šīs pārmaiņas skar mūs visus – iedzīvotājus, uzņēmumus, pašvaldības, reģionus un valsti kopumā. Klimata pārmaiņas šobrīd raksturo vidējās gaisa temperatūras paaugstināšanās, ekstrēmi laikapstākļi, nokrišņu daudzuma palielināšanās, jūras ūdens līmeņa celšanās, kā arī straujāka krasta erozija. Tās rada nozīmīgus izaicinājumus mūsu veselībai, drošībai, labklājībai, kā arī tautsaimniecībai un dabai kopumā. Sabiedrības uzdevums ir mazināt klimata pārmaiņu ietekmi un vienlaikus pielāgoties tām, saskatīt iespējas, ko paver efektīva pārmaiņu vadība, sakārtot lauku un pilsētvidi, padarīt to iedzīvotājiem draudzīgāku, uzlabot un zaļināt komunālos pakalpojumus, veicināt atjaunojamās enerģijas izmantošanu un paveikt daudz ko citu. Lai to varētu īstenot, ikvienam ir jāapzinās, kā klimata pārmaiņas mūs ietekmē, kā uz tām reaģēt, ko nosaka starptautiskā un nacionālā klimata politika, kā klimata politika jāīsteno konkrētā reģionā vai pašvaldībā, kādi finanšu resursi tam ir pieejami. Atbildes uz šiem jautājumiem tu atradīsi Vides aizsardzības un reģionālās attīstības ministrijas e-mācību kursā. To varēsi apgūt tiešsaistē, jebkurā tev piemērotā vietā un laikā. Mācies un piedalies klimatnoturīgas nākotnes veidošanā.
Paldies!
Thank you. And in the concluding session, we'll have two speakers. And they will speak about responsibility, how we take responsibility about climate changes. And we will speak about e-training courses and how to develop this content for municipalities and planning regions about mitigating climate changes and adjustment and adaptation to them. And the floor goes to Mrs. Marina Poutunen, who is the senior expert of climate changes department from the Ministry of Environmental Protection and Regional Development. Good day to everyone. All participants of the conference, I am happy to speak to you, to those who are in person and those who have joined us online. I hope that the video that you just saw really spoke to you and seemed interesting, and that you would like also to go through this and to look through this training course. And I will continue about the same topic about e-training. And first of all, why is it necessary for us? The Environmental Protection and Regional Development Ministry would like to offer a high-quality, always available, interactive, self-educating training course that is developed related to the most updated information about climate changes. This training course is a new and successful training instrument for the employees of municipalities from the planning departments about climate changes, and studying this course would increase personnel capacity for each employee, and will also allow them to participate in the activities organized by municipalities and planning regions by integrating climate policy at all the levels of their operation. As we know, planning regions and municipalities play a very important role so that we can integrate this climate policy nationally to achieve climate policy goals, to develop regional and national and local development planning documents and to implement them. And as it was said before, e-training course is created to address employees of municipalities and also planning regions. So we are intending and planning this course for the widest audience. And as to the development and implementation and time framework for this implementation, we already started development of the content in November 2021, which we ended in July 2022. The next stage is development of interactivity of this training course and application on e-environment. And on the fourth quarter this year and till first quarter of next year, we need to apply all the features for e-environment so that this is available on the second quarter of 2023 already for all the users. As to the topics of the e-training course, we are offering 4 topics with 12 subtopics, which will include general information about climate changes, also overview about climate policy, international, national, and European Union planning documents, and also the climate policy implementation instruments, so both economic, fiscal, market, and financial instruments, and other instruments which help and promote implementation of this policy. An important topic which is highlighted in this e-training course is related to the climate policy integration at the regional and municipality policy planning documents, and also implementing all type of measures within this area. It is also important to emphasize that these training courses also offer an insight how to solve those issues related to climate policy in cooperation with the public, and how to involve everyone from the public in this process of implementation of climate policy. And here you can better see how these topics we have planned and what subtopics we have included. But I must admit that this is a division of topics which we have planned. And when we will implement and organize this training, that distribution could look differently after we have implemented all the interactivity elements. But generally, of course, the general content of the topic and subtopic, of course, wouldn't change. As to the components of this training course, we are planning on average around 18 academic hours, or 5 to 7 hours equivalent in e-environment. We are planning that those materials will be available 2 months since the moment the applicant has registered for this course. And what is important, that all these materials will be available at any time and any place for the participant. For each topic and subtopic, there is a specific structure, how it is outlined. And under each topic, it is possible to see the necessary information, which is structured in subtopics, short summary, explanation of terms, interactive tasks, and questions for self-testing. Also, the information that has to be learned mandatory, and additional information. And of course, we are planning the self-tests for each topic, and it will help to acquire this knowledge. And at the end of the course, we are planning the comprehensive test about all topics, and what is the most important, that at the end of the course you can get a certificate. And what I wanted to emphasize additionally to this training, we are planning specific benefits, and we have to remember that this is a very topical but also a very new and very updated information. So participants will have a chance to get the most updated information in relation to the theory and also practical tasks and practical information. So I believe that this is a very successful model how to get this theoretical and practical knowledge and also apply in their daily activities. And the certificate that could be obtained after the C-course, this will be important both as certification that the person has involved in those self-training measures. And I believe that it will be also important for municipality employees, proving that they have a certain knowledge about climate issues. And also this comprehensive knowledge will help us to improve cooperation and communication with the public, and also improve cooperation at the local level. So I am inviting you to follow the information climatam.lv about the process and our future activities. And to those who develop this e-course, I wish all the success, because this content is very topical and very interesting and follows the information. Thank you for your attention. And by this, we will also finish this presentation. Thank you very much. Thank you, Marina. And we will continue with a presentation by your colleague, Liena Griķik, who is the senior expert of the Climate Changes Department. And she will speak about the development of the guidelines in climate changes for integration in the sectoral policies. And our next speaker is the final speaker. So please, if you would like to ask any questions, please send them to the same site you did before. And if there are any questions we were not able to answer during our conference, you will find the information in climatam.lv. And there will be also information about this conference and all the interesting facts. And now the floor goes to our last speaker. Hello. I will try to be short and concise, knowing that I'm the final speaker and very soon we will have a lunch break. So about Green Deal. That was announced in December 2019 in order to create the situation that those climate changes is an opportunity, and also to ensure equal and the same opportunities for everyone. And the climate law plans for climate neutrality by 2050. And in order to achieve those goals, in 2021, the EU Commission came out with a package Fit for 55, and this is a very broad package with a goal to implement and achieve the goals. So by 2030 to reduce emissions by 55% in comparison with 1990, and also to promote movement of the EU countries towards climate neutrality. And I have to mention also the EU adjustment and adaptation to climate change strategy, which plans for that each new investment and policy project is made with climate changes notions in mind. And for Latvian policy, there are certain goals. So the strategy of climate neutrality of Latvia plans to reduce GHG emissions by 100% by 2050. And then also we need to think about and to talk about the National Energy and Climate Plan 2021-2030, which is a long-term energy and climate policy planning document that determines more specific goals in the area of climate and energy. And then the third document I would like to mention is the Latvian environmental policy framework 2021-2027, which is a framework of national environmental policy and determines the policy goals. And there are two sub-objectives, so movement towards climate neutrality and also to promote climate resilience and adaptation. Right now, We are developing also a draft of climate law, and the goal is to improve and to make topical regulations of climate policy and to have all the necessary conditions at one place. And the goal is to ensure a movement towards climate neutrality, to reduce climate change's negative consequences, and also mitigation of climate changes. And this law would define the reduction of GHG emissions, adjustments to climate changes. And now about research that we are doing right now. And the goal of this study project is to assess existing practice and also to develop policies and necessity to adapt to climate changes and risks and to reduce GHG emissions. So we have 6 directions. One is assessment of investment projects. Next is about improvement of buildings construction regulation. Next one is about updating of insurance and in line with climate changes. Next is green portfolios, roads and railways, building according to the regulation, and also improvement of policy regulations. And the measures we have planned within those studies is, first of all, to identify the existing practice. Second is to identify the foreign good practice examples, and as a result, to develop guidelines to integrate the climate changes aspect in the specific sectoral policies. At the period of implementation of studies and results. So in 2022-2023, we are finalizing work with investment projects, construction and insurance. Next year, we will develop studies about regulation of construction of roads and railroads, use of territory planning, green portfolios, and green applications, green shares. And within this project and study, we will organize 6 training seminars, 3 experience exchange seminars, and we are planning to train about 100 experts and the employees, and also to train experts. And what are the benefits? Benefits are integration of GHG emission reduction issues in the sectoral policies, reduction of emissions in policies, and adjustment and adaptation to the climate changes, and integration of those issues in the sectoral policies, and at regional and local level, territory development plans, infrastructure resilience, development of new solutions, sustainable financing, and the last one is insurance. Thank you very much.
Paldies. Un, jā, līdz ar
Thank you. That's all. There won't be any other presentations today, but we still have questions to Marina and Liene. Will the e-training course be free, and will municipalities be informed of its availability? Thank you for the question. This training course will be free. Regarding when and in what way employees of municipalities and institutions of planning regions will have access to this training course, the information will follow in due course. There's a similar question. Will this e-training course be available only to the employees of municipalities and planning regions or for a wider audience? At the moment, it is aimed at experts of planning regions and municipalities, but over time it will be made available to a wider audience. It is an open question, and I hope it will be resolved soon. Lian, a question to you. By implementing the EU policies, is the individual situation of each member state taken into consideration? Yes, when implementing the EU policies, the individual's situation in each member state is taken into consideration. The circumstances vary, and various legal EU documents give member states certain flexibility in implementation in accordance with their needs. Marina, another question to you. Do you plan to test this e-training course in online? As we haven't launched the process yet, and we'll start it late this year, we will think on how to conduct these pilot courses better. In this case, we will inform the target audience and we may involve them in the testing process. Thank you for your answers and presentations. That was the last session of this conference, and now the dessert. Let's see who is the lucky one who won the CO2 meter. From ecological wood. I have a remark from the jury. Please do not sign as Ilse or Annia. Please write your full name and surname so that we can contact you later and award you the prize. I don't know what the outcome of the first part of the interactive quiz is. Now the second part. The second part is very easy on slido.com. I will ask a question and you have 10-15 seconds to answer this question. So how many people have connected in 10-15 seconds? We need more people. Let's wait 10-15 seconds. I know there should be at least 40 participants. There's no hurry. We tested your punctuality after the break, and you did really well. We can rely on you. Half of all participants have arrived online, and only the best performers stay until the end, at least in school. Let's wait. It's unfair what we see on the names of those who have connected. We also have to see the names of those who haven't connected. Jokes aside, I will ask 4 or 5 questions. It will take 5 minutes of your life, and then we'll see what you say. I think I will start asking the questions when at least 35 people have connected to the platform. And you cannot, the same person cannot connect twice. And please specify your full name. We can find you easier later. You're not being conscripted, for God's sake. Okay, go ahead. 2 more people, and let's begin. One more. Come on. Please, one more participant. There you go. First question. how many experts so far have been involved in implementing the activities of this project, integration of climate change policy in the sectoral and regional policies? So how many experts? And you have 3 options. We shouldn't have given the options. It should have been an open-ended question. So 38 participants, by the way. We can do we have the power of majority or minority here? Everyone wants to measure their CO2 levels. Everyone wants this meter as a prize. As soon as the numbers are identical, we will continue. The statistics experts say it is unfair. Okay, 3 more people. Hurry up. I hope everyone can hear us. Okay, I have to continue. Question number 2. The Meteorology Center project partner has introduced 3 meteorological criteria. So what is the 3rd criteria? You see the first 2 criteria: radiation index, the higher risk of field fires. And what is the 3rd criteria? Strong wind, frost, or fog? I just have to motivate you a little bit. You are top of the class, answering much faster now. You seem to be really competent in environmental issues. But no wonder you're the experts. Can we continue? Question number 3. Which institution the Meteorology Center cooperates with to improve the early warning system? Please do not answer loudly. Those participating remotely can hear you. So let's see what you answer. Some people are not listening and answering to the questions at Meteo event. That's the wrong platform. This speed exceeds all expectations. Usually we stop at 38, 39. Okay, let's go on. Question number 4. When the e-training course on climate change developed by the ministry will be made available in the e-environment. So what is the approximate time? I'm showing you the prize to motivate you better. A meter is turned off, by the way. If I turned it on, it may give off a red warning. 38 people, good. So what are the answers? Thank you. And the last question, after which we will find out the total winner. How many industry and municipality experts will be trained as part of the training organized by the ministry? A few more. 38 responses. Big thank you to all participants. The robots and people will do the calculations so that in the coming minutes we can find out the winner. The information on this project can be found on www.klimatam.lv. So in 1 year's time, in autumn, we'll be presenting the results of this project and the further application in implementation of climate change policies. If there are any questions we haven't answered during the conference, will be answered at a later stage and forwarded to the askers in writing. So it's very important you leave your full name. If you have any additional questions, you're welcome to send them to email info.klimatam.lv. That's all in short. Thank you to the lecturers, panel speakers, to our guests and cooperation partners. We have a winner, by the way, and the winner is Ilse Neimane. She is right here in the room. Shall I ask for a passport, or will we believe that she is who she says she is? When you go to vote, please bring your ID, though. Please applaud to Ilse. Congratulations, and I will give you the packaging as well. It has a leaflet, instruction manual in it. Thank you, Ilse. I, Gustavs Terzans, will say goodbye. Have a favorable climate and see you next year.